That means we continue a little bit on the theme of the SMEs and the business side of the work that we are doing. And we have a representative from the digital SME, Paulo Valente, who will speak to you on behalf of the organization. Paulo, pick up a microphone from the table there. Yeah, the one, or you can, or the one that's, yeah, whichever you like. Yeah, come on up.
So, is it working? Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Eddie, for the introduction. I'm very pleased to be here with you today. I'm representing Digital SME Alliance. My name is Paulo Valente. I'm today the chairman of the focus group on smart communities, which is a group that has been recently created to reinforce the work that has been delivered by the Living in You initiative. It's something that the Digital SME Alliance, which is an association that represents around 45,000 SMEs across Europe, is very engaged on because the principles and the gaps that were identified are in line with what we have already figured out that needs some contributions. So we believe that it's important to bring solutions or at least some proposals to the table. That being said, we have been working with our members to identify use cases where we can contribute to it. One thing that is very important is that this focus group is open to the community, not only the SMEs that are working on the ICT sector, but also to the stakeholders that are important. That means the EU institutions that are also present, but also the Eurocities and other entities that represent the ecosystem. So that is our objective, is to have everybody on board and build up on what is already being done at the EU level. One thing that we have just launched in this focus group, we also proposed a manifesto where we identified several principles that we want to follow. One of them is leveraging the local power of the community. We believe that the ICT SMEs that are present locally are closer to identify the solutions and work with the communities to find good ideas to deliver on the demand, on what is required to implement the digitalization, which is a big challenge. I've heard during our session that, in fact, the differences between the regions and the communities are very big. We cannot have a one-size-fits-all. It's impossible to have that. So the closer we work with the stakeholders, the better we can achieve these results. From my side, I represent one SME that is member of Digital SME Alliance, and it has always been our principle to work together with our potential clients, which are the cities, the communities, because we believe that they don't have all the required knowledge and competencies, because it's not their core business. We need to work with them to show how we can embrace some of these challenges. Another principle that this manifesto was we found it was important, was embedding these European values. And this goes in line with the Living in You manifesto. It's something that goes really in line. One thing that is also being referred, and Hedy was saying that maybe it was not so sexy, but the interoperability is very useful. I work in technology and standards for quite some time, and whenever we don't see an interoperable system, the problems begin, because we don't allow competition to work properly. It's easy to say the lock-in, but in fact, the options for the future are completely reduced, and we need to allow this openness of the ecosystem. So, after that, we also found that there was one principle, which is the cross-border collaboration. That is very important for SMEs, because SMEs don't have all the resources that, let's say, larger organizations have. And the more we collaborate with each other, the more we can supply in a fruitful way the market, especially the stakeholders that want the solutions to solve the problem. Fostering these digital skills. This is a very important topic for us because, as it was already mentioned, there is a general reduced supply of skills, of people with the right skills to deliver on all the process of digitalization. I think it's across all the geographies that we are covering, but it's a problem that we need to solve it. It's not just because we recognize it that it will be solved by itself. So many initiatives. I heard the other initiative that was a kind of academy that is promoting the transformation, the conversion of certain people that were not so skillful on digital issues. And I think that is very important. Inside Digital SME Alliance, we are also very engaged on this. We also believe that promoting the fair competition and the access of SMEs to the procurement, it's essential. It's the more we create tools that allow a large and open access to the procurement that is being promoted is essential. By doing that, what we need, and again, it connects with the open standards, because that allows everybody to play with the same rules and to contribute in a fruitful way. And finally, something that we recognize as a principle that is very important is bridging the gap between the urban and the rural areas. The access to information that a city like Lisbon, we are in Portugal, has compared with certain cities, like for example Évora, are completely different. The companies are mostly based in Lisbon. They are not based in Alentejo the majority of the time. And that is a big gap that we need to try to find solutions that compensate them. And that's let's say the final principle that we are also very keen on this focus group, to identify how we can propose solutions that can be done. That being said, and as a final conclusion from Digital SME, I would like to thank this opportunity to share our ideas, but also to show our total availability to continue working on this dialogue that is very important. We, representing let's say the supply side, are very interested in contributing, not only finding off-the-shelf solutions. I think we have the flexibility, the SMEs have the flexibility to propose solutions that fit for purpose the clients, our clients, which are the cities, the communities, the regions, and we are very keen on working on that to find the best options. Okay, thank you.
Say, Paulo, this is an opportunity also to converse with Paulo, ask him questions if you have any. Martin, you need to come up again, take this mic.
Thank you, Paulo. So also just to confirm up here that I think smaller companies, smaller communities, and their networks really need to go together also towards, the regulators. But I think also, the bigger cities, the bigger companies, because there's so much that we need to align on. So I think really, actually, my main recommendation would be in line with yours. We need to use the networks and the associations. So this is all just to confirm that we're working so closely together and with the networks of regions. So the task group that you have on smart communities, I mean, we are engaging in that conversation directly. So I think that is actually the action point for us here. Also, Eddie, the movement to have both sides of the market in there and the associations representing them. So European Digital SME Alliance, I think, is a key one there. That was not a question, but you feel free to respond.
It wasn't a question, but it was a sort of a word of encouragement, Paulo.
Which I accept with great pleasure. I think it's a recognition that we are contributing with something that is positive, that we want to bring better results, not just complain that sometimes there are difficulties. We want to bring solutions to the table. Yeah, that's our objective.
Co-create with your clients and stakeholders. Excellent. Anyone else? Marcos.
This is not a question, it's a little bit of semantic game, but you are on the supply side and you are our partners and we are very proud of you. So what I'm saying is not negative, it's positive. But you are on the supply side of digital innovation, digital service, digital enablers. some other people is on the demand side, and finally we see that everyone is on the demand side. So when it comes to the policies that we have to develop at the regional level, we have to do both. We have to create conditions for the suppliers to feel good coming to the region, which is a sort of challenge, and at the same time we have to develop the policies that make it right to be enabled by digital. So in every sector, mobility, that's the reason why we invited EIT Mobility Kick, because that's a sector we are very keen on. On health, there are amazing projects, but huge challenges on, and that's not digital sector, it's digitally enabled. That's digitally based innovation. And I'm always a bit of struggling with this semantic problem, because we say, okay, we have to do more digital, but one thing is digital, other thing is digitally based. Two different policies. And when it comes to the policies that are benefiting from innovation, technology, but not only technology, and using more digital, they are creating a market for the digital suppliers. That's where this ecosystem starts, and that it comes all the story of co-development and so. The point I'm trying to make is that we have to try not to sterilize the policies to make only better for the digital companies to come to the regions, but at the same time, by innovating in the public services that are critical to structure society, but also innovating on market. But let's keep with public service. When we innovate in public services, we keep an eye on that policy of creating a market, local market, that make it easier for the digital companies to come. So that's a dialogue between the digitally based innovation and the digital innovation. And sometimes it's difficult to find the borders or to make it work together or to be part of the same ecosystem. That's something we think about within our oral, because indeed that's a problem we face in our pilot regions. So I came here just to do this little semantic differentiation between the digitally based and the digital. An example is attracting creators, cultural sector. We had a session on cultural sector. The region, Valente, and I think my vice president allows me to comment on this, but the region is very rich indeed, but also very keen on keeping developing on the cultural sector. So our creators are welcome, and we have policies to attract those creators to come even individually here. They use the digital and they create the environment that makes it easier for digital suppliers to come. But that's a sort of permanent dialogue between the several sectors and policy sectors around that at first sight have nothing to do with digital, but at the same time to check on how is it doing for favoring the digital companies to install and to have this added value for the regions. That's why we like your focus group, because that's part of your job. You try to do it. And that's why Digital SME is such an important organization. That's also why perhaps we discuss so much co-development within Living in You and so. And that's why sometimes the life of the ones that govern the regions is not so easy, because these things have to match together. And the idea of ecosystem, and that's indeed a key word also. Okay, it was more like a little game of words. Sorry, I talked too much.
No.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, Marcos. Now, just a quick comment on what you said. We believe, at least when we were discussing the focus group, that technology per se is not a solution. It needs to fit the purpose of what is the demand, what is the need that is at stake, that we need to supply. I think no SME must be very happy if their technology is not even used. So if they sell it, but then it's not used, okay, it's mixed feelings. They are happy because they did business, but in the end, if it's not providing the solution that was foreseen, it's no problem. So we want to work with the let's say the client side, the demand side, to understand what are the needs and then provide something that really solves a problem, that really addresses the challenge of supplying a solution for citizens where things work together. Otherwise, there is no use on that. We might have an immediate, instantaneous happiness, but then it's gone. So I agree with you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Paulo. Give him a big hand.